Stephanie, and welcome to the Reading Room. This is the playlist where I review what I read in the last month, and I do my best to keep it spoiler-free, or at least warn you if I'm about to spoil something. As I say in all my reviews, these are solely about the books and not about the authors. So let's go ahead and talk about the books that I read in August. So first up was a thriller that I've been keeping on my shelf for the summer, and that is The Block Party by Jamie Day. Let's go ahead and see what this one promised. The residents of the exclusive cul-de-sac on Alton Road appear to be living idyllic lives. But underneath the surface, they're all entangled in a web of secrets and scandals. At the annual summer block party, the only thing more dangerous than the desserts are the neighbors. And this year, murder is on the menu. But who's the killer? And why did they kill? The answer lies 1 year earlier, when the rivalries and betrayals first unfold, and the residents of Alton Road each discover that nothing, and no one, is ever as it seems. So this book is me saying that I want Desperate Housewives, and my mom says we have Desperate Housewives at home. This was a mess. I've had more thrills reading my shampoo bottle than reading this book. This was unfortunately really bad. I don't even know if I can fully explain how bad it was. I was ready to DNF this book and stick to my New Year's resolution, but then I told my husband that I kind of just had to keep reading to see if this continued to get worse. And it did. And honestly, the book starts off really well. So we're at this block party and bam, the police are on their way and someone might be dead. Let's go. This is a great setup. We're going back in time a year. The story is going to be about what happened in the year leading up to the party, and it's really boring. Okay, I guess we can do that. Oh, it's also going to be more about petty domestic drama and our main character Alex's drinking problem and her daughter Letty's weirdly obsessive crush on the new boy next door. Okay, it says murder is on the menu. Let's get to the murder. Also to say, I don't think Day has ever heard a real conversation before. The dialogue in this was atrocious. Honestly, all the writing in this was kind of horrendous. This is a book that I actually do wonder if it was written by AI or heavily assisted by it, because the people in this do not talk like people. The characters in this are all kooks, but not in a fun or funny way. This was boring. I'm very surprised this was published, and I know that sounds so mean, but I got this on the book outlet, and had I paid full price for this, I would have asked for a refund. I still kind of want a refund. This was just bad. Now, the good thing about reading this is it did put me to sleep multiple nights in a row, so that was kind of nice. I have to say, again, the dialogue is bad, but Letty is a teenager, and she is the most poorly written teenager I have come across in a long time. She's calling things gizmos and gadgets. Who is she? Ariel? It's very obvious that this is an adult writing a teenager, and it just really made me cringe. She's supposed to be this, smart girl, but she's given some pretty serious warnings to leave stuff alone, but is all, surely they don't mean it. Girl, I need you to be so for real right now. Letty was just really pathetic, and again, a poorly written teenager. She's obviously not a teen. I know the type of person that Day was trying to make her out to be, but it didn't work here. And there's also the point that she's, an environmental warrior. We get it. She cares about the environment. She honestly read Captain Planet with how often she's thinking about the environment. Yes, we do need to be better and take better care of our planet, no doubt. But she quickly became annoying with it. It's like that joke, you'll know if someone's a vegan or into CrossFit because don't worry, they're going to tell you. And Alex, her mom, she is super annoying as well. I'm not rooting for any of our main characters in this. Alex is way too nosy and basically sticks her head up everyone else's ass to know what their business is. Lady, no one wants your drunk ass in their house. Go away. I also didn't understand why we're in first person point of view with Letty, but then we're in third person with Alex. Like, can we just be in third person with both of them? Because I don't like either of them. It also reads like Day doesn't trust her readers. She spells everything out and over-explains the simplest of plots and reveals. I do not need you to hold my hand through your reveals. And oh my god, was this overdramatic in the end with all of the reveals. I could not bring myself to care once all the puzzle pieces are coming together. Again, this book is not thrilling. It's bored soccer moms and weirdo teens making stupid decisions and so many subplots. There's zero reason for this book to be as long as it was. I'm just honestly baffled. And there's a lot of praise on the back of this book from other authors. You fucking liars. Like, okay, we have utterly engrossing. This is not engrossing Sally Hepworth. This is the opposite of engrossing. And then highly engaging and brilliantly plotted. Absolutely amazing. Readers are going to flip by Lisa Gardner. Lisa Gardner, this is not highly engaging at all. My recent sleep scores would suggest otherwise. Compulsively readable and action-packed, with a wealth of surprises along the way, not to be missed, by Mary Kubica. Apologies if I'm mispronouncing that. Action-packed? Where, Mary? Where is this book action-packed? Because I read this entire thing. This does not have action. I would actually like page numbers and specific scenes, please. Then we have a scorching knockout. Treat yourself to the utterly unpredictable thriller. Heather Gudenkoff. A scorching knockout? Is it, Heather? Is it really? I mean, I guess that does kind of track. I've read some of your work, and I'm sure you do think this is a titillating thriller. I mean, just honestly, the quality bar for this is so low. Maybe when I finally finish one of my books, I should reach out to St. Martin's Press, as apparently they publish anything. I cannot give this anything higher than 1 star. I think this was trash. I'm probably going to put this in a free little library and have to add a sticker that says, boring as hell. Read at your own risk. Speaking of reading at your own risk, not that I think anyone should actually read this book, but if you do pick it up, please be aware that there are mentions of SA, self-harm, and the attempt of taking one's own life in this, and mentions of a child death. If those could be triggering for you, please stay away from this. Hell, even if those aren't triggering for you, please stay away from this. Ooh. August was not off to a good start. So next up was a book that I was excited as it was going to get me in the mood for like spooky season, and that is The Woman in the Dark by Vanessa Savage. Let's see what this promised. For Sarah and Patrick, family life has always been easy, until her mother's death sends Sarah spiraling into depression. When she overdoses on sleeping pills, Sarah insists it was an accident, but neither Patrick nor their teenage children believe her. Determined to give their family a fresh start, Patrick convinces her to move back to the idyllic beachside home where he grew up. But there is a catch. The once beautiful old house is now known as the murder house. It has been standing empty for 15 years, ever since another family was brutally slaughtered within its walls. Nostalgic for his childhood, Patrick is adamant that this can be their dream home, yet again. Sarah tries to bring it back to its original warmth, but as locals hint that the house is haunted, the children begin having nightmares. Strange writing appears on the walls, and creepy gifts suddenly arrive on the doorstep at odd hours. With the news that the murderer has been paroled, Sarah can't shake the feeling that something just isn't right. Not with the house, not with the town, not even with her own loving husband, whose stories about his perfect childhood suddenly aren't adding up. Can Sarah uncover the secrets of the murder house before another family is destroyed? With an irresistible fog-drenched atmosphere that hides its knife-sharp twists, Vanessa Savage's The Woman in the Dark is the perfect new read for fans of I Let You Go and The Couple Next Door, a chilling psychological thriller about dark family dysfunction and the secrets that haunt us. So it's a good thing the author's last name is Savage, as I am about to be savage with this review. I did not like this. This had all the right elements, but holy hell was Sarah, the main character, annoying as hell. I needed her to grow a fucking spine and stand the fuck up. She frustrated me to no end. Her husband is a literal piece of trash on 2 legs. Her daughter was horrible. I seriously kept waiting for a killer clown to pop out of the basement and stab her. Her son is probably the only decent character of the bunch. Like, these are truly awful characters. But Sarah is meek beyond belief. I just wanted to scream at her. And I hate that because it feels like I'm bordering on like victim blaming, but my God, reading her realizing her husband is horrible, but she keeps going home and making excuses for him? Girl, come on. Like, every time someone is about to reveal something to Sarah, she basically like slaps her hands over her ears or tells them to stop talking. But then as soon as they like leave her alone, because they're like crazy, she then is sitting there and be like, oh, well, I want to know what they wanted to say. Like, This also felt like a TV show where a character would say something dramatic and that's the end of the scene. Like, what was the goodbye like after that? Like, these characters were still just like standing together and had to go play like I also found this to be pretty predictable in the sense of where the story was going. I guessed the twists, but hated how the characters would warp and change their personalities just to make the plot work. Now, this is a scary story, but it's scary because of all the gaslighting and DV in this. To borrow from a reviewer named Janelle on Goodreads, this book is 95% domestic abuse, 4% who is leaving things on the doorstep, and 1% ghost story. It's not even really a ghost story. Kind of like my first read this month, I cannot recommend this, especially since there is a horrible, horrible inclusion of essay in this that feels like it is just there for shock value. It is there, it is never properly addressed. So if essay or any form of abuse is hard for you to read, leave this book in the dark and stay far away from it. Again, I can't give this more than 1 star. Like, I'm sorry, but this was really hard to get through. I wanted a haunted house story, and that is not what this is. The things that are happening around that are never even explained. It's just so stupid. This is not what I expected. It is slow, and then it tries to cram so many themes and important moments in at the end that they all fall flat. Like I said, August is off to a terrible start. 2 1-star reviews back to back. What did I do to deserve this? So next up was another kind of spooky read that I had really high hopes for. I've heard other people give this high praise, and that is Hide by Kiersten White. Let's see what this promised. The challenge. Spend a week hiding in an abandoned amusement park and don't get caught. The prize? Enough money to change everything. Even though everyone is desperate to win, to seize a dream future or escape a haunting past, Mac is sure she can beat her competitors. All she has to do is hide, and she's an expert at that. It's the reason she's alive and her family isn't. But as the people around her begin disappearing one by one, Mac realizes that this competition is even more sinister than she'd imagined, and that together might be the only way to survive. 14 competitors, 7 days. Everywhere to hide, but nowhere to run. Come out wherever you are. So praise Satan, August was finally turning around. Holy hell, this was good. I really enjoyed this horror story. I can't even say like comp titles that I would give it because that will hint at what is going to happen, and I really do not want to spoil anything for this book. I absolutely love the abandoned theme park setting, the sinister vibes, and just the overall like twisting of things that are supposed to be safe from your childhood, like the theme park itself, as well as hide and seek. Like the creepy utterances of come out wherever you are will definitely play in my nightmares. Now, one detractor of this, I will say at the beginning, the pacing is a bit slow, but once stuff starts moving, oh my God, is this book hard to put down. I read this in like a day because I wanted to know what was going on. I truly could. This was unputdownable. Now, there is a large cast of characters, but since this is a and then there were none style plot, the cast does thin out pretty quickly. But I will admit it was hard to remember who's who as we have 14 contestants and then we meet like the contest organizers. There's a whole lot of people in this. Once we do thin our cast down a little bit, I thought the characterization was done pretty well, and I did get attached to many of the characters. Though some of the characters are just so vile that I could not wait for tragedy to befall them. In this, I really loved how the tension kept building, the conflicts felt natural and realistic. I also loved the pacing of the reveals and just like peeling back that curtain so we could understand what was happening. It never felt too info dumpy for me. I also found the social commentary and themes to be woven well into the story. Like, White does make her point, but did it through the characters instead of like stopping the story and turning to the audience and explaining like what she wants us to take away from this. And the behavior of some of the characters living out that theme were so infuriating, but it's meant to be, and so it makes its point very well. Another thing I didn't love is I wish we had a little bit more to this ending. It is a good, punchy ending, but it felt like a chapter ending instead of a novel ending. There were moments that felt like a very specific horror movie, which again, I'm not going to name here since I think it would spoil some things, but that too ends really abruptly. So maybe it was an homage of sorts, and like it's kind of just leaving it up to the reader to finish the story based on what they know. I just wanted more of like that resolution scene or like a peek into the future of like what's happening with these characters. But all in, I still really enjoyed this. I gave this 4 out of 5 stars. I had an absolute blast with this book. I could not put it down. It was unsettling, unexpected, and a pretty fun horror read. They also included a blurb for her other book, Mr. Magic, which I immediately went on to Book Outlet and bought because I absolutely love her writing style. I thought this was fantastic. So next up was a romance that I was really excited for as travel was going to play a big part of it, and that is P.S. I Hate You by Lauren Connelly. Let's go ahead and see what this one promised. Maddie Sanderson would be so proud to honor her older brother's dying wish that she scatter his ashes over 8 destinations that the adventurous 29-year-old never got to visit before he died from cancer. Jesus, that's a long sentence. But in his will, Josh assigned her an impossible partner to help complete the mission, Dominic Perry. Seriously, if Maddie weren't already at her brother's funeral, she would kill him for this. Sure, Dom was Josh's lifelong best friend. He's also the infuriating man who broke Maddie's heart back when she was naive enough to give it to him. But since Dom insists on following the rules, and Josh didn't leave much room for Maddie to argue the matter, they embark together on a series of farewell trips that span thousands of miles, exploring new places and revisiting their complicated history along the way. After a snowstorm leads to a shared bed, Maddie starts to wonder if her brother might be matchmaking from the grave. But when grief reopens old wounds between them, Maddie will need more than Josh's ghostly guidance to trust Dom again. So I was torn between picking this up or another thriller, and so I read the first pages to see like which was clicking with me. And on the first page, the humor of this really caught my attention. Then a few pages later, the humor took a turn, and suddenly we have jokes about diarrhea and toilet paper, and our heroine being in someone's spank bank. Shall I mention that the spank bank comment is said at her brother's funeral? It was a bit much. As is Maddie. Oh my god. Maddie, our heroine, rubbed me the wrong way. And looking at Goodreads reviews, I feel pretty confident in saying that I am not alone in this thought. She was immature, and at least on the one hand, she admits she is, but she's also in her mid to late 20s. Grow up, girl. It is not cute for you to be all, tee-hee, I'm so immature and snarky. Like, no, you're just annoying. She is a Wedding Crashers Stage 5 clinger. It has been almost a decade, and she is hung up on Dom, our hero. Have some self-respect and move on already. And it also says 2 exes. They never actually dated. They had like one night where they hooked up. Like, they're not exes. They're not exes. This is lying to you. Also, if I got $1 for every time Maddie talked about her nipples, I'd have like $10, which isn't a lot, but it's more than I would have thought after reading this. I don't think I've ever thought about my own as much as I've had to think about Maddie's nipples. I also really wanted to go back and count how many times Dom almost smiles. This man rarely smiles, but his mouth is always twitching like it wants to smile, but he just doesn't know how. But then suddenly his jaw is clenching or flexing or his lips are tightening. I'd probably have more like $100 for counting up mentions of what his mouth is doing. I'll tell you what it isn't doing though. It's not having a conversation with Maddie to clear things up, to tell her to stop being a rude, petulant child. He also uses his mouth to talk dirty to her at some points, and I didn't know how to process that. It felt very weird. I don't want to be here. I don't want to read you. I don't want to be involved in this. The spicy scenes in this were just something else completely. Like, I am not the biggest spice girly, I will admit that, but man alive, the spicy scenes in this made me want to skip ahead a few pages. Of course, your mileage may vary. But I could not with this book. I trudged through this overlong book just to say that I read the entire thing, and I'm giving this 1 star. This honestly had potential. I will say that I loved the letters from Josh and the adventures that he set them on. Josh was the best character, and he's dead. I would rather read his story. Or, like, I just wish we had spent more time mourning Josh instead of hearing Maddie say, "Fuck you very much," to Dom every single time she sees him. Or maybe it wouldn't have been as bad if this had been a dual point of view book, because just having Maddie's point of view made this a very tough read. There's definitely going to be a wine club episode for this book, because I did not like this. I do want to give a content warning that there is obviously talk of loss of a loved one in this, child neglect, and the loss of a pregnancy. If those are triggers for you, please be careful about picking this book up. I will say, if you love Tessa Bailey or Abby Jimenez, you will probably really love this. This felt very similar to their works, maybe just a bit more immature in its humor. So please do not let me deter you, as my review does come with the asterisk that I don't normally gravitate towards romance. I think romance readers still will be annoyed with Maddie, as she is absolutely insufferable, but I think a lot of romance readers will love Dom. He's pretty straight-laced, loves growling at her, and no matter how much abuse she hurls his way, he keeps coming back for more because he's just so in love with her. So again, if you like, Tessa Bailey or Abby Jimenez, this might be a book for you. But P.S. I hate you. P.S. I hate you. So next, I had to read something to change things up. Since I had good luck with something scary with Hyde, I opted to pick up Dearest by Jacquie Walters. I mean, what can I say? I am ready for spooky season, but let's see what this promised. Flora is a new mom, enamored of her baby girl, Iris, who has arrived a few weeks early. But with her husband still deployed, Flora must navigate the newborn stage alone. As the sleepless nights pass in their half-empty home, the edges of her reality begin to blur. Household items seem to move on their own accord, and Flora is certain someone is talking to Iris through the baby monitor. Just as Flora becomes convinced she is losing her mind, a surprising guest shows up to help. Flora's own mother, to whom she hasn't spoken in years. Will caring for the baby help them to mend their fraught relationship and start anew? Or is there more that Flora's mother isn't telling her about the events that led to their estrangement? As stranger and scarier events unfold, Flora begins to fear that her mother's secrets have allowed something truly evil to enter her home. She must decide. Is her hold on reality slipping dangerously away? Or is she in fact the only thing standing between a terrifying visitor and her baby? So this book had me going, what the fuck? But in a good way. From the opening of this until the end. Now, does the end go a bit off the rails and feels a bit rushed and convoluted? Yes. But I could not put this book down. I too read this in like a day because I was so sucked into the story and trying to figure out what was going on around Flora and her newborn daughter Iris. Like, this book is so descriptive. The supernatural elements were great, and Walters really made me feel as disoriented while reading this as Flora was. One of the twists definitely caught me by surprise. The other, not so much, but it did not take me out of the story. I think it worked really well, even if it is something I've seen before. But I absolutely loved how I was pulled into this story right away. The scary things start happening right away, and it just makes this impossible to stop reading. If you're looking for, I don't know if this is a genre, but like new mom horror, this is absolutely it. I appreciated the exploration into themes of motherhood and family, and found that this one even goes into like some trauma responses and being able to face that and understand what it is and overcome it. So I will say the ending is not what I expected. It is really well written, but for me, there's just something off about it, and it left me with a lot of questions. Like, I can tell that the explanation makes sense to Walters, but it doesn't fully make sense to me. I just felt like there were a few loose threads that still need to be tied up. There's also a lot of body horror in this, and a lot of postpartum depression and even postpartum psychosis. If those could be hard for you to read, please go into this cautiously or skip. Like P.S. I Hate You, there is a lot of nipple talk in this as well, but it's more how Flora's hurt and how much she's struggling with breastfeeding. Flora's nipples were cracked and bleeding, not about to rip through her clothing quite like Maddie's. Overall, I found this to be a fantastic horror story and one that captured me from start to finish. I loved how the creepy stuff ramped up right away, and just, again, how descriptive everything was until the end, because I had some trouble seeing at the end, like, what was happening there. But the first 90% of the book, it's vivid, and it painted me a very scary picture of what was going on, and I loved it. This is a book that I don't think you have to wait until spooky season to read if you're looking for a quick horror fix, and I ended up giving this 4 out of 5 stars. So next up is a thriller that I got from my book drop subscription, and that is The Perfect Sister by Stephanie DeCarolis. Apologies if I'm mispronouncing that, but let's go ahead and see what this promised. Alex Walker has always looked up to her perfect older sister. Maddie has succeeded in all the ways Alex has not. She escaped their hometown and seems to have put the memories of their unstable childhood behind her. But despite the different paths their lives have taken, the two sisters made a pact to spend 1 week together every summer. It was a promise they'd never broken until now. But when Maddie suddenly cancels her annual trip home, Alex begins to worry. But when Maddie stops returning her calls altogether, Alex is certain something is wrong. Relying on the only clues Maddie left behind, Alex follows her sister's footsteps to the Hamptons, where she meets the Blackwell family, the last people to see Maddie before she vanished into thin air. The Blackwells seem to have it all: wealth, beauty, and a beachside mansion on a private stretch of Hamptons real estate. It's a world unlike any Alex has ever known, but she quickly discovers that looks can be deceiving, and that a life of luxury always comes at a cost. So this book also sucked me in and ended up being a thriller that you really can read in a day if you want to. I think it's well paced, well plotted, and overall a good time. It is very much a popcorn thriller, so you do have to suspend your disbelief for some things. And the ending does get a bit over the top and starts to add more twists that I'm not sure we needed and left some things unanswered. But for a quick popcorn thriller, I absolutely enjoyed my time with this. Now, I will give a content warning that this book does include themes around sex work and infidelity. If that is not your jam, you might not enjoy this read. I really loved that there are plenty of red herrings and misdirects, so you don't fully know what's going on or who to trust. Everyone is acting shady for different reasons, and it almost had Stepford Wives vibes. Wow, say that 5 times fast. And Alex's intuition is crying out like Whoopi Goldberg in Ghost, like, "You in danger, girl." She knows there's something off and super fake about the Blackwell family, but also needs their help if she wants to find her sister. And I loved how Alex actually did the hard work in looking for Maddie and trying to trace Maddie's last steps. She actually goes to the police to report Maddie missing. Now, she does make some dumb choices along the way, but at least she is actively searching for Maddie instead of the clues magically falling in her lap or pawning it off on other people who then come back to her with "Oh, I figured this out." She is actually figuring this out. And I love me a main character with some agency who actually drives the story forward. Again, I will say the biggest challenge I had with this is the ending feels very soap opera-esque with the villain suddenly remembering that they have lines. But it was also some of the writing style at times. This book is told from multiple characters' point of views, and this book has a lot of instances where we'll start the chapter in the present, but then the character will be reminded of something and reminisce and give some backstory, and then someone else will say the character's name to snap us back into the present. It is a good way to weave in history, but it was used quite a lot in this. There's also a romance subplot that felt kind of shoehorned in and didn't really add anything to the plot. I almost wish it wasn't included so we could spend more time on the sisterhood aspect. seeing as the title is about them being sisters. Like, the guy was a good guy, but he's basically a sexy lamp. He does not impact the story at all. But all in, I liked this. I think this would be a fantastic beach read. I'm giving this 3.5 out of 5 stars, and I'm definitely going to keep an eye open for future books by DeCarolis. So next up was a romance by an author that a subscriber actually recommended. So thank you for the rec, Poppy. And this is Kennedy Ryan, and I picked up a copy of her title, This Could Be Us. So let's see what this promised. Soledad Barnes has her life all planned out. Because, of course she does. She plans everything. She fixes everything. She's never met a party she couldn't host or a charge she couldn't lead. But none of her varied talents help when the life she built with the man who was supposed to be her forever, goes poof in a cloud of betrayal and disillusion. There's no time to grieve. She's too busy keeping a roof over her daughters' heads and food on the table. And in the process of saving them all, Soledad rediscovers herself. From the ashes of a life burned to the ground, something bold and new can arise. But when Judah Cross, brilliant single dad and absolute last man she should want but can't seem to resist, enters the picture, can she trust him? Can she trust herself? After all she's lost and found, is she brave enough to take a risk for what could be? So this book starts off with a bang, and I was here for it, even if it felt like a bit like movie made for TV, but it was very dramatic and it threw us right into the story, and it built on the characters really well. I did like that this is a blend of romance and contemporary fiction, and that the adults act like adults. I loved that a focus of this was Soledad finding herself and loving herself first. She needs to be complete and then find a partner who adds to her life, but isn't her life. A partner shouldn't complete you. You should be complete and enhance another person's life by being together, and I absolutely love that message in this. Now, I do think some of the men were a bit exaggerated. Like, there's this character who's supposed to be a C-level executive, but is always talking about Soledad's ass and face in like multiple meetings. Like, one time, sure, he just makes a passing comment and then he gets reprimanded for it, but it just kept happening, and it felt like it was only brought up just to remind us that Soledad is the most beautiful goddess to ever grace this earth. I got it. And then there's this character, Edward, who was a bit over the top for my taste as well. Like, there is no way he could have talked the way he did for years, and Sol didn't clock anything off with this man. Especially since we do find out that her family and friends didn't even really like him. Like, Sol, please give me something to work with. Like, have him be terrible over the years instead of like, he's been terrible from the start, but she just closed her eyes. I do love Soledad. She is very funny. She is lovely. But I will say the further along in the book we go, the more unrealistic she kind of becomes. Like, she is perfect. I mean, truly perfect, and the most amazing woman. I mean, I started to wonder when she had time to sleep and work out because she's so slim. She is doing so much, and doing it perfectly, of course. Like, she is hustling, and I love to see her find her passions and build something for herself. But where were the challenges? Where were her failures? Because it kind of just seems like her ex is the only challenge, because she just wins at everything she tries. And it just felt unrealistic. Like, how am I supposed to root for her? Because I know everything she touches turns to gold. Like, she starts posting on social media. And of course, she's an instant success, getting millions of views and followers and brand deals. And that's awesome for her. But that's a very unrealistic picture and very romanticized. I mean, really? 2 million views on a vinaigrette recipe? She starts a little baking business, and it's wildly popular. She starts a dinner party hosting service, and everyone wants her time. She gets catering jobs. She starts an online book club. She's turning her husband's man cave into a she shed, and everyone is tuning in live to watch. She's organizing community-wide initiatives. She's able to drive her kids to school and their activities every day. She cooks them dinner every night. She goes to her daughter's school just for the "who is your daddy and what does he do" day. And of course, the other parents just share with one class, but Sol, she gets the entire gym so these kids can hear her talking about being an influencer. And these 6th graders are so impressed and wowed by her. Everyone knows her name and wants to be her or be with her. One of Judah's sons is super picky and won't even eat his grandma's food, but he'll eat Sol's without a problem. There is nothing this woman can't do. I half expected her to walk on water at one point. And again, I am happy that she is successful, but after a while, it just doesn't feel earned. There is no struggle. She's not really challenging herself to grow. She is just perfect and now gets money for it. So there's no tension when she wants to try something new because I already know it's going to go well. There's a hint at the end, like about this big brand deal, but she might not get it. I don't even have to read because I know she's going to get it. She is the perfect woman. I would have found this to be a much better read if we had seen her failing at some of her business ventures. But then again, at the end, she's able to make food that didn't set off Judah's son, because that would be a sentimental win for her. And maybe she wouldn't care about the other failures because this win means so much. But no, we don't have her ever struggle. And it just makes it very hard to want to see her win because obviously she's going to. There's nothing that is slowing her down. And it just makes it really hard because I'm like, okay, girl, like, how am I supposed to measure up or what am I supposed to learn from her because she just is winning left and right. Again, get that bag, girl, but I wanted to see her work for it, especially if we make it such a big part of the story. She makes one post and boom, she is famous. Though I will admit I had this same problem with Margot's Got Money Troubles. It was way too instantaneous for my liking. Like, sure, you can go viral, but it isn't a guarantee that you will just kill it with a social media career and can replicate that success over and over and over again. It just rubbed me the wrong way how easy she makes it seem when it's not. We don't see her planning her content or creating it or tracking her analytics to understand what's working. We don't see any of the actual work, just the praise and adulation. And it got to be too much. Now, I did like how she focused on herself to be ready for her next partner, and I did like the slow burn between her and Judah, who's the hero of the story. I liked watching their relationship develop. Their sly glances, their sneaked conversations, both of them wanting to stay true to themselves and putting their families first. I liked their banter and laughed when they were together. They were pretty cute. Sol is pretty snarky, and I absolutely love it. There are spicy scenes in this, and I felt at least they were earned. There was that yearning and that unresolved sexual tension there. I'm glad they got to bone, though I personally didn't vibe with the writing style for those scenes and did kind of skim. I mean, these are open door scenes, and the way they were written wasn't my jam. I do think at the halfway point, the book slows way down. And there are a lot of little subplots that we could have skipped, especially since they're similar and repetitive. The story felt like it was stalled and buffering, though I did love Sol's friends and her sisters. It added a lot of depth to Soledad and showed, fabulous relationships that aren't romantic. Her friends were funny and supportive, and I liked seeing the work that Sol put into sustaining those relationships. I think one thing that could have been added was more communication between Judah and Sol, even if it was in secret, like them texting or going old school and emailing just to build up their relationship more. Because I do like the slow burn aspect to make the relationship and the payoff feel worth it. But this book spans a year and they meet up every few months. Judah is watching her socials and falling in love with her through that, but I wanted it to go both ways. Why is she also falling in love with him? We know he's attractive and smart, but what else? Because he kind of comes off a little unhinged at times, and it wasn't so cute after a while. They joke constantly about how he's stalking her and how he's always right outside her house waiting for her to drop her kids off at school, and after a while, that's not so sweet. It's not a cute run-in when he's constantly hiding in the bushes waiting for you. You can do the, hee, are you stalking me, thing once or twice, but after that, it's a much more serious, yes, he is stalking you. And I think there's just a missed opportunity to really show us their relationship. Because again, if the romance is going to be a big aspect, have that be a part of it. Have them communicate, even if it's not them meeting up in person. I did like this because it is balanced. This is a romance style that I do see myself enjoying, and I do want to check out more work from her. It's not just insta-love, and their relationship took time to build up. Their relationship was going to be complicated given how they met and how they're blending families. They both love their families and wanted this to be a good fit for all involved. They are prioritizing other people as they think about their relationship. And I absolutely love that there's no third act breakup or miscommunication. They are great at communicating when they do it. Sol is upfront and honest about what she wants and what she expects, as is Judah. I do love that they talk. They ask questions. They don't just assume and shut down and refuse to talk about how they're feeling. In the end, I'm giving this 3 stars. It was a solid book, even if it did go on a bit longer than it needed to. I do like how it blends a bunch of genres and topics, and I did like Sol's journey of self-love and making herself her own soulmate. I think that is an absolutely great message. I do think this could have been trimmed in certain areas and built out more in others, but definitely not a bad introduction to Kennedy Ryan's work. Seeing reviews, it sounds like the first in this series, which I didn't know this was a series when I bought it, but it sounds like Before I Let Go was a bit better. So I do want to try and find a copy of that, as I do want to give her work another go. This does feel more like a romance that I can get on board with. Alright, my last read for the month was an author that I have enjoyed before, and that is Stacy Willingham, and I picked up her title Only If You're Lucky. Let's see what this promised. Lucy Sharp is larger than life, magnetic and addictive, bold and dangerous. Especially for Margot, who meets Lucy at the end of their freshman year at a liberal arts college in South Carolina. Margot is the shy one, the careful one, always the sidekick and never the center of attention. But when Lucy singles her out at the end of the year, a year Margot spent studying and playing it safe, and asks her to room together, something in Margot can't say no. Something daring, or starved, or maybe even envious. And so Margot finds herself living in an off-campus house with 3 other girls. Lucy, the ringleader, Sloane, the sarcastic one, and Nicole, the nice one. The 3 of them opposites, but also deeply intertwined. It's a year that finds Margot finally coming out of the shell she's been in since the end of high school, when her best friend, Eliza, died 3 weeks after graduation. Margot and Lucy had become the closest of friends, but by the middle of their sophomore year, one of the fraternity boys from the house next door has been brutally murdered, and Lucy is missing without a trace. Only If You're Lucky is a tantalizing thriller about the nature of friendship and belonging, about loyalty, envy, and betrayal, another gripping novel from an author quickly becoming the gold standard in psychological suspense. So I really enjoyed this. I do agree, I think it is definitely more suspenseful and a psychological read than just like a straight up thriller. This is very much a slow burn, as we don't get answers until the end. And this book is definitely more about the atmosphere and that rising tension, and again, just the psychological elements. There are some things that are just off, and we're not sure why or what's going on underneath the surface. This book really explores our need to belong and to be loved, and it very much focuses on friendships, even toxic ones, and ones with power imbalances. Now, this book does feel a bit more YA compared to some of her other work, as the characters are in college, but I didn't really mind. I felt it was still adult enough for me, and I kind of liked the college vibes in this. It made me think about my college days and like the parties. Granted, I lived in the dorms and didn't spend much time at frat parties, but this invoked a lot of nostalgia for me. I think, honestly, I struggled more with the switching timelines than like the YA-ness of this. Every switch in the timeline ends on a cliffhanger, and then there were times that I forgot what was happening in that timeline when we get back to it, so I had to flip back and like, okay, who are we talking about? Who is this? But I did like how the timelines eventually match up and how they flow into each other. Now, I will say I did predict one twist right off the bat. If you read a lot of thrillers, you can see this twist coming from a mile away. The other 2 twists were surprises, and I thought they were really well done. Although at one point in the story, Margot comes across this clue and then just does nothing with it until the plot needs her to do something with it, and that really bugged me. There was a way for her to do something with the clue, but like still not get the answer she needed until like she has an epiphany about how to get that answer later. But for her to just sit on this clue and like not even think about it, it just really annoyed me. So even though Margot is our main character and who we see the story through, I found Lucy to be the more compelling character. She's a charmer and a manipulator and knows exactly how and when to play her cards. She is the cat playing with a mouse before killing it. Now, Margot does start off the book being kind of, humdrum, which makes sense as she is mourning the loss of her best friend Eliza. She's still pretty numb and just going through the motions. And then she meets Lucy, who reminds her of Eliza, and Margot latches on for dear life at the chance of a new friend who is also very magnetic and fun. But Margot I don't think she was super well developed as our protagonist, and the background characters felt a bit stereotypical, like we have the studious Sloane and the too nice for her own good Nicole, plus some frat brothers that have one personality trait each. But it's not about them. The book is about Margot and how she knows she's meek and attaches herself to larger-than-life people, and that she needs to change in order to continue living her life the way she wants to. So I will say, at the end of the day, I'm still giving this 4 stars. The ending was a bit lackluster and at times convenient, but overall, this read kept me engaged as I was trying to figure out, what was happening. Again, this is slow, but I think it really worked for this type of story. It's unsettling. It's suspenseful. I would definitely recommend this read. If you're a fan of her adult work, maybe reset your expectations a little bit, as these characters are kind of young and dumb at times. But all in, I thought this was a great read. I also could not put this one down. And now I'm even more excited as I have 2 other Willingham titles that are still on my to-be-read shelf. I got her new one, the Forget Me Not, and then I think I still have Flicker in the Dark to read from her. So super excited. I think she has an amazing writing style and really enjoyed the slow burn, psychological suspense of this. All right, so that wraps up everything that I read in August. If you have any recommendations for what I should read in September, especially since I will be doing probably a few more spooky reads than usual, otherwise my October to-be-read pile is going to be 27 books deep, so trying to get ahead of spooky season reads. If you have any recs, please leave them in the comments below. Otherwise, thanks for joining me in the reading room.